Thank you, Charlie, for that introduction. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. It's always been my childhood dream to study marine mammals, but I never knew that I could see wild dolphins in Malaysia. In 2016, I volunteered for MareCet's fieldwork, and that was the very first time I saw my very first wild pod of dolphins in Malaysia. It was a large group of Indo-Pacific humpback dolphins, and I remember just being completely in awe and speechless when I saw these beautiful creatures swim past our boats as the researchers on board take photos of them. I could not believe my very eyes that we had pink dolphins in Malaysia. I knew from then on MareCet would be an important platform for me to grow my interest in marine mammal research and conservation. But life as a marine scientist isn't always rays of sunshine or leaping dolphins. It's also this. Throughout my years researching with MareCet, we've encountered several marine mammal strandings, including dugongs, whales, dolphins, and porpoises. As much as I remember my very first wild pod of dolphins, I also remember my very first carcass. It was an Irrawaddy dolphin, and it was filled with maggots. If you ask any of my close friends, they would know that I have an intense fear of worms, specifically on leeches and maggots. So I knew that day that I couldn't go close to that Irrawaddy dolphin. I would show you all a photo of it, but I don't really want to relive that moment, and I'm sure many of you don't want to see it either. As intense as my fear was to worms, I knew that there was a bigger problem at hand, and that was marine mammals are being accidentally entangled in fishing gear. This Indo-Pacific finless porpoise, for example, does not have a tail, and it's a telltale sign that it's been entangled in a fishing net. When fishermen spot a dead marine mammal in their net, they would then cut off the tail of the marine mammal to ensure no further damage to their net. This porpoise is a victim of marine mammal bycatch. Fishing is a necessity for the livelihood of many people around the globe. And there is a huge demand for the seafood industry. With all that said, that means there's a lot of fishing gear in the water, and some even discarded, also known as ghost nets. It is estimated that about 600,000 marine mammals are being accidentally entangled in fishing nets each year, and that fishing itself poses the single greatest threat to marine mammal populations globally. The vaquita is a prime example of a marine mammal bycatch in gill nets in Mexico's Gulf of California. This has caused the vaquita population to have plummeted drastically over the past years, and there's only currently about 10 individuals out there. Many marine scientists and conservationists are working very hard to avert this situation. Learning from the lesson of the vaquita, we do not want a repeat of that in Malaysia. And so we're trying to do something about it. Only just a couple of months ago, I was out at sea with the team, and in the distance, I saw a large splash in the water. In that area, I also saw white floating marker buoys indicating that there was a drift net. A few minutes later, there it was, a dorsal fin on the surface of the water not moving. I immediately indicated to our boatmen to zoom straight to that area. At the same time, there was another fisherman boat moving towards that area as well. It turns out that drift net belonged to this fisherman. We managed to witness the entire disentanglement of this humpback dolphin from this fisherman's net. As you can see, it takes time and skill to carefully remove this dolphin from their net. The fisherman told us that this dolphin weighed about 200 kilograms, that's about 440 pounds. Once successfully disentangled, we then followed the dolphin to ensure that it was swimming safely away from the net. We also found out that actually there was another individual waiting for this dolphin. So these two dolphins then swam away into the horizon safely. We then went back to the fisherman to talk to him, and he told us that unfortunately his net was ruined and cannot be used again. That dolphin that day was a lucky dolphin as it was spotted on early before it could have drowned, but that may not be the case for many marine mammals out there. In fact, only just last week, we had news reports from our local fishermen that we work with that there was a total of 5 finless porpoises that did not make it and drowned in their nets. But there is still hope. In MareCet, we have just begun our bycatch mitigation project in the state of Perak. This project is being co-led with Dr. Vivian Quid, the scientific officer at MareCet. During her PhD, she found out that bycatch is a major problem in this area and that we needed to do something about it. One of the bycatch mitigation method is by using this banana pingers. Can you tell which one's the banana and which one's the pinger? These acoustic pingers actually work underwater. So we deploy them on nets, and they emit a high-frequency sound that can only be heard by marine mammals and cannot be heard by us humans nor the fishes underwater. These pingers work as a win-win situation whereby it helps deter the dolphins away from the nets, but it's also sparing the fishermen of ruined nets and also time to disentangle these dolphins. This acoustic pingers also prevents the dolphin from coming close to the nets and stealing the fisherman's catch. Underwater, visibility is near zero, and so sound is very important for the survival of these marine mammals. Besides these acoustic pingers, we are also deploying these acoustic devices, which are called hydromoths. These hydromoths are deployed with the nets, and they can record the acoustic behavior of the marine mammals and how they are behaving towards the pingers. They also record the effectiveness of the pingers towards the dolphins. In the past couple of months, Vivian and the team have been working hard in recruiting fishermen in the local area and getting them to join us in this project to help us deploy the pingers on their nets. As of today, we have successfully handed out over 100 pingers to about 20 fishermen in the local area. Recently, we also conducted a marine mammal stranding response workshop, whereby we invited local stakeholders and also local fishermen to share about what to do when you see a marine mammal stranded on a beach, alive or dead. We also share about how to safely disentangle the dolphin from their nets. On that note, not just for this project, but as a whole, MareCet is always actively running education and awareness campaigns to local schools and general public to share about the marine life that we have in Malaysia and the importance of conserving these animals. I'd now like to invite Dr. Louisa, the co-founder of MareCet, to elaborate more on these programs.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Saliza. I have obsessed and loved marine mammals, especially dolphins, ever since I was a little girl. So essentially, what I'm doing here today is a childhood dream. For that, I'm so grateful. Naturally, as the younger version of me, who was obsessed about dolphins, thought that everybody felt the same. Everybody loved dolphins, everybody was aware. But I actually found this out the hard way when I started working back home in Malaysia, and about 11 years ago when I co-founded MareCet. Fairul and I, my co-founder, we found that one of the first fundamental stumbling blocks to the work that we wanted to do, we had all these plans, but one of the biggest stumbling blocks was the fact that so many Malaysians were unaware that there are marine mammals in Malaysia. In my country, we have a local saying that goes, "Tak kenal, maka tak cinta," which basically means if you don't know it, you don't love it. So how could we even get to our conservation work when people were so unaware? So Farah and I got to work very quickly and developed the Sea Science in Schools program for MareCet, whereby we decided we would bring the ocean into the classroom of students from national schools. Over the last few years, we've had the opportunity to go to various schools around the country to teach them and to share knowledge about marine mammals, marine ecosystems, and the threats impacting these animals and their habitat. However, last year, very thankfully, we had the opportunity to scale up our Sea Science in Schools program, and we developed the Whales on the Wheels Mobile Marine Education Exhibition. In fact, as I speak, my team back in Malaysia are currently on the final leg of this current tour. What is the whale truck? Thank you. What is the whale truck? The whale truck is basically a 3-ton lorry that we have decked out and turned into an exhibition hall. We have plastered the walls of the inside of the truck with all the photographs that we have taken of marine mammals that we've studied over the years. And there are little stations where visitors can come and immerse themselves and sort of touch things and do hands-on learning about marine mammal biology, marine mammal ecology, sustainability issues, conservation issues impacting marine mammals. Little kids can pretend to be marine biologists for a day, and we tell them all about how they can make an impact. As of February last year, we have gone to over 13 states and 2 federal territories in our country, crossing over 44 towns, cities, and villages, and traveling over 5,000 kilometers and receiving over 11,000 visitors to our whale truck exhibition. Of those 11,000 visitors, we have managed to reach out to more than 7,000 students from national schools. And we hope it doesn't stop there. The current exhibition ends end of this month. However, we hope that in the coming year, we will be able to continue to go to more schools, especially rural schools around our country, to bring the ocean to these kids. And we also have a dream of bringing our whale truck across to Malaysian Borneo. That is a sea apart, so we are trying to think, how can we do that? Because we've had a lot of requests. So we're hoping in the coming year or the next 2 years, we'd be able to take the truck over to the other side of the country. Over the last few years in doing the Sea Science School and School program, we've worked in schools that are on islands, kids that grow up on islands and in coastal areas. And what we found that despite them having lived in these very marine-linked environments, they didn't know there were dolphins in their backyard. They'd never seen one. They'd never been on a boat. They barely went to the beach. So over the last few years, one of the other things that we tried to do, so with the whale truck, we tried to bring the sea into the classroom. But then we also tried to bring them out into the sea. So we've brought a few groups of students from the Langkawi archipelago where we work out to the sea to see the dolphins that are swimming in their backyard. How many of you have seen wild dolphins or whales? Can I just have a show of hands? And do you still remember the excitement that you felt when you first saw those animals? Yeah. So one of the most satisfying feelings for me is taking these kids out to the sea and having them be so excited when they spot their first dolphins. They look through the binoculars and they see that fin breaking the surface and they squeal. And it makes me think, this was the right thing to do. So it is our hope that in the coming year, we would be able to do more of this, to bring the ocean into their classroom, but to bring them out into the ocean as well. As Saliza mentioned earlier, we also run a lot of stranding response and disentanglement response workshops. So in the next 2 years, we are hoping to be able to scale it up and to take these workshops and trainings all across the country, to be able to train more local fishing communities, coastal communities, tour operators, and the public in general. We are hoping that all along our country's coastline will be a few people who will know what to do when an animal strands on the beach, dead or alive, when an animal gets caught in a net, dead or alive. I was recently part of a scientific study that looked at the extinction risk of the world's whales, dolphins, and porpoises, collectively known as cetaceans. The study found that unfortunately, 1 in 4 cetacean species are threatened with extinction. Further to that, the study found that Southeast Asia, where we are from, where we work, is a global hotspot of extinction risk for at least 7 cetacean species, 3 of which are species that we work with, that we have been studying and working so hard to protect over the last decade. It sounds grim, but I remain hopeful because we have the dream team. This is our team in Malaysia who are working extremely hard to protect marine mammals, to study them, and to do all that we can to avoid them from going extinct. And I'm incredibly grateful for all the support that we've had so far. Marine mammals are the sentinels of ocean health. Having them around means that we're going to be okay. Having them around means our blue planet is thriving. So this is an invitation from all of us at MareCet for you to support us, partner with us, collaborate with us. I invite you to come to Malaysia to join us, invest in our mission, so that we could go so much further with ensuring that these magnificent animals continue to swim freely in our blue planet. So on behalf of the team in Malaysia, Saliza and myself, we just want to say thank you so much for your generosity, for your kindness, and for your support. Terima kasih.
Thank you so much for that beautiful presentation. Good morning, everyone. It's me again. Good to see you all. Good to see you all. That was a lovely presentation. We have plenty of time for some questions. So if I could please have the slide that has the QR code for those who might need to scan it for us, that would be appreciated. Thank you. Okay, so I will be receiving some questions on my phone here. But before I do that, I would just like to highlight to the audience that Saliza here is actually a 2022 scholar for the WCN career. Sorry, not career program, a WCN scholarship program. Career program is so much in my head because I'm managing it. Yeah. All right. So for our first question, it's really just a technical question around how do you deal with the fishermen around the poaching of the dolphins? Is there any poaching of the dolphins?
Oh, okay. There isn't a problem of poaching of dolphins in Malaysia, thankfully. It's more of the issue of accidental entanglement in fishing gear. So for a long time now, we've known that entanglement in fishing gear occurs, but we've not had the means to really address the issue. So this year, we decided to embark on this bycatch mitigation project where we are, as Saliza mentioned, giving out these pingers for fishermen to trial. And we're hoping that the response for wanting to trial will increase as we go along. We started a few months ago, and of course, some fishermen were a bit skeptical because they thought that we were trying to get them into trouble. But we said, no, we're trying to help you because if we can put these pingers on your nets, then we can try to prevent dolphins from getting entangled. Of course, that saves the dolphins, but it prevents their nets from getting damaged. As well, it prevents their catch from being stolen by the dolphins. So fishermen do complain that their nets get depredated by dolphins, and they don't like that. So we're hoping to roll out more of these pingers in the coming months to more fishermen who would be willing to trial it on their nets and for them to give us feedback on whether the pingers work or not. We're very lucky that so far the response has been pretty good. We're hoping it'll get better, but they are very keen to try and find a win-win solution for the situation. But just to go back to the question, very fortunately, we do not have a poaching issue. It's just that there are a lot of nets out there. And so the dolphin, I mean, imagine being a dolphin and swimming through a sea just full of nets. You have to really navigate through that. So yeah, we hope that we can find a win-win situation for a win-win solution for the situation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Well elaborated. So we don't have a QR code, but we do have Sophie over there who's going to pass around the mic if anyone has any burning question in the audience.
And quickly, just to clarify, on the back of your name tags, if you take that out, that actually has the QR code for questions. So I'm going to take the first question via mic to buy you all some time to take out that QR code. And that'll be the same QR code for the rest of the day. You just need to select the right room that you're in. So first question I saw over here.
So I'm curious, how did you discover the pingers technology? How did those ideas come, or how were they explored?
Yeah, so the acoustic pingers have been trialed out in other countries. So the banana pingers, for example, are from the UK. So these devices are trialed out in other countries, but they tried on other species as well. So we're not sure whether they work with our species yet, so that's why we're trialing it out now. Yeah.
And the idea is that if it doesn't work, then we have to find an alternative. Yeah.
Okay. There was a hand since there are no questions that are coming up yet. Where's the mic? Okay. Oh, there we go.
Do you have a problem with plastic pollution in your waters? You haven't discussed that because that's a major problem in the Mediterranean and other parts of the world. And what do you do with that?
Yeah. Actually, just before coming over here to Expo, we were out on survey, and there'd been a few storms that week that we were out offshore, and the sea was full of trash. It was heartbreaking. We even saved a juvenile hawksbill turtle from this pile of nets that were just floating around. So to answer your question, it is a severe problem, and it's a complex problem. Obviously, once the trash has entered the sea, in a way, it's already too late. It's out there. And what we need to do is to try and stem it at the source. We don't actually have any immediate solution just yet, but having seen all that trash floating out there, I've been thinking about what can we as an organization do. So I'm trying to talk to some people to see how we can maybe discuss about policy, and we're also hoping to embark on a zero waste school program. So where we work, we want to work with some of the schools to try and get them to move towards zero waste. So kids have to bring their own food containers and their own water tumblers. We want to teach them food composting for their school canteen and stuff like that. So maybe little steps that hopefully will add up, because it is a massive problem. But one of the things that we always tell people is that recycling, for example, is really the last option. We should always try to reduce, repurpose, repair. And this is the messaging that we tell people. Even those who come to our whale truck, we have a whole sustainability corner, and we tell them of all the alternatives that they can use in place of disposable plastic things. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Someone in the audience would like to find out. You mentioned something about a pinger, so they wanted to know how much one costs.
Pinger.
So the pinger costs, one of it, 100.
About 120 pounds. Yeah.
What's that?
Per pinger. Yeah. So.
Very currency different.
Yeah, so there are two companies, I think one in the UK, one in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they cost about $120, 120 pounds each. Yeah, so we're hoping to distribute more. We've had fishermen come back to us and say we didn't give them enough, and they're getting, animals getting stuck in the net. So we're hoping to acquire more, purchase more, so that we can distribute more to these fishermen. Another thing that appeals to the fishers for wanting to use the pingers is some of them actually use like a little dynamite to scare away the dolphins. So they'll light a dynamite and they'll throw it into the water, and it goes boom. And they say that after a while, it doesn't even work on the dolphins anymore. And some of their crew have actually lost fingers just from throwing this dynamite. So we're like, hey, we have pingers, they don't explode, they're safe to use, we're giving it to you for free, will you trial it? So fingers crossed, we'll get more and more signups, and hopefully we'll be able to also secure more pingers to distribute to more fishermen. And the idea is that if this works in the state of Perak, then we can consider trying to scale it up across to different fishing communities across Malaysia.
Wonderful. I'll just read one and then I can take one from the audience. So there's another question that's coming around the conferences. So do you attend conferences around your research? And do you share your research, that is, for the conferences? And also, do you partner and collaborate with other conservationists? So it's a two-in-one.
Yeah, okay. Conferences, yes. In fact, the next big marine mammal conference is happening in Perth next year. So we do plan to have our team there to present all our research. But apart from presenting our work in the traditional scientific ways of paper publications and attending conferences. We also do a lot on social media, and we convert a lot of our research findings into easy-to-read reports for policymakers. We turn them into infographics, and a lot of the work that information, for example, the information that we've gathered from our research is converted into something like an activity book, a children's storybook. So many different formats that we try to disseminate the information. Do we partner with others? Yes, just depending on what the topic is, what the collaboration is about. We do partner with other people, and of course we are open to partnering because there's so much to be done and nobody can do it all alone. Yeah.
That's great. So that is both in environmental education and research
Yes,
partnership.
yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. We can take the question there then.
I have another question about the pingers. I think they're really cool. I was wondering if there was a patent on them, if the two companies hold patents on them, or if there's an opportunity to have the technology be open source so that hobbyists could make pingers and donate them.
Yeah, I definitely think that if you're very good with technology, you could definitely make them. But I think what's interesting, which I don't know how it works, but it only works underwater. So when it's on land, it doesn't make any sound, so it doesn't disturb, I don't know, like your dogs or things like that, because it's high frequency. So once only when it touches water underwater, then it only works. But yeah, I definitely think all these technologies, even the acoustic device, the hydromouse, can be built by anyone. Yeah.
And just to add on, that's actually an interesting question because let's just say we've trialed these pingers, banana pingers, for a while now, and the fishermen are saying it's not quite working on these species, then we would need to find an alternative. But what if there isn't an alternative readily available on the market? So something like what you're suggesting, where maybe somebody could customize a pinger that would suit our purposes, that would be fantastic. So it's possible, yeah, definitely.
And right on pingers, so do they work in deep water and how are they powered?
They're battery powered. Deep water, I don't know, is it?
I don't, no, not so, no.
I think mostly coastal, shallow water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there one question? Okay, we can take this last one here.
It's kind of two parts. Are the pingers all at the same frequency, or do they ping at different frequencies? And is there any concern about the dolphins learning that they're kind of, ooh, it becomes a dinner bell?
Yeah.
Yep, so they are in different frequencies, so depending on what species we want to work with, and also knowing the species and what frequency they can hear. So that's when we have to decide which type of pinger we need to buy. So that's where the two different companies will come. But it's not just only the frequency that's important, but it's also how loud it is. So if you put more, let's say, I think on one gill net, you need at least 100 meters each. So let's say if a fisherman has a very long gill net, so it needs about 15 pingers on one net. So that's where it's very loud so that the dolphins can actually hear it and actually go away. So the loudness is important because that's when the dolphins would want to go away from it and not become a dinner bell. If it's still too soft and they can manage the sound, they'll still go towards the net and take the fish. Of course, then it becomes a dinner bell. Yeah. So it's a trial and error really with the species and also knowing the frequency and loudness of it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for those questions. But just one last one before you go on stage, because you go off stage, because this one is a personal one on you. And someone in the audience would like to find out how you manage your emotional well-being as well as that of your staff, and just what keeps the drive, very quickly.
It is tough. The conservation field is a tough field. And I think small moments, sometimes running the whale truck and afterwards we get a message from a parent saying that their kid had a fantastic time, or their kid is going to go off and do a bake sale to raise funds and awareness about marine mammals. I think these are the little moments that count, that keep us going. Standing on the stage last night and to have everybody support, those moments keep us going. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Saliza and Louisa.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.